I like your vision for 2023. I think we're all hopeful that it will be the year where we see China reopening, the Chinese consumer returning, and again playing that counter-cyclical effect for global growth. We've just had the first death from COVID-19 in about 6 months since the Shanghai lockdown. Does that worry you that we're going to see a return to stricter curbs?
I think China's been extraordinarily careful when it comes to COVID and how it's managed in the context of a very large population. But I would say that the officials seem to understand that there is a certain political as well as economic calculus at work here to think about the drag on a continued basis on the economy if they don't reopen. And I think they've done everything that they can to reopen as safely as possible. We've certainly seen them finally say to people that are under-vaccinated to get their shots. And I think everything that we're seeing suggests that China's preparing for handling a significant increase in the number of cases. And I think all of that is why we feel fairly high conviction that next year will be the year for the Chinese consumers' return. And we've seen in every market that has experienced a reopening that there has been significant strength attached to it. What China has that other markets have not is that it does not have an inflation problem. And so as that process occurs, I think we can actually go at it with a greater degree of confidence.
And certainly the buy China cause is getting stronger out of Wall Street. JP Morgan, even Morgan Stanley tends to be more cautious, are joining that chorus. But I do wonder, when it's about aligning your call with the timing of the reopening, how hard is it to get that right?
Well, I think one cannot be exact in timing, but what I've always found in a couple of decades of investing in China and deploying capital there is that when you have valuation extremes and also sentiment extremes, that is actually often the time to invest. And while we have seen a rather significant bounce, we need to bear in mind the even more significant fall that we've seen preceding that over the last 3 or 4 months.
Well, David, an interesting point you make is you think the old growth style approach towards investing in China, the growth style, right, has been discredited. And this is at a time when growth has greatly slowed down. Is it because you think growth is going to speed up so much?
Not so much. I mean, while we certainly think that there is a tactical bounce for Chinese equities really across the board, what we've seen is that the old approach to China of just saying, oh, well, it's got high GDP growth, that should lead to a better revenue and earnings growth, that hasn't really worked out for people, especially for those that wanted to buy more expensive growth style stocks on high valuations. And what we think China reminds us of today is Korea 20 years ago, when it was slowing down from being an Asian tiger to an OECD level of growth. And when you combine that with relatively lower return on equities for the market overall, this we think means that we need to approach the market with a value style instead. Instead of it being value versus growth in China, it's value versus policy alignment.
All right. So are there any sectors, any industries where you would advise people who do want to invest in China to put their focus?
Well, we do like a variety of different idiosyncratic opportunities. We don't think it's as easy as just saying, oh, well, the worst is past, let's pile into the Chinese property market. But we do think that consumer-oriented parts of the economy are probably likely to have much better fundamentals in 2023. And when we look at the longer term, when I spoke earlier of policy alignment, we really think that green and net zero aligned strategies of investing in the Chinese equity market make a lot of sense. And that's because China certainly is aiming to be a positive actor on the green global stage, but they also obviously have their own energy security, very much foremost in their minds. And I think investing alongside the Chinese government in ensuring that it becomes the Saudi Arabia of wind and solar, if you will, as well as electric vehicles, is a very exciting long-term growth prospect.